Solomon, the King of Wisdom, unveiling the secrets of a legendary leader. The divine gift of wisdom, Solomon's unprecedented request. The story of King Solomon, the son of David and Bathsheba, is one of the most fascinating narratives in the Bible. Solomon is best known for his unparalleled wisdom, which was granted to him by God in a remarkable encounter. His reign over Israel marked a period of great prosperity, peace, and cultural flourishing, making him one of the most revered figures in biblical history. The origins of Solomon's wisdom, however, are rooted in a profound and humble request that would shape the course of his life and his kingdom. When Solomon ascended to the throne of Israel after the death of his father, David, he was young and inexperienced. The weight of ruling a great nation was daunting, and Solomon knew he could not do it alone. In a dream at Gibeon, God appeared to Solomon and said, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." 1 Kings 3 verse 5. This was no ordinary offer. It was an open invitation from the Creator of the universe to grant Solomon anything he desired. Faced with this incredible opportunity, Solomon could have asked for wealth, power, or long life. Instead, he chose to ask for something far more valuable: wisdom. Solomon prayed, "So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours?"
1 Kings 3:9.
This request pleased the Lord greatly because it demonstrated Solomon's humility and his deep concern for the welfare of his people. God not only granted Solomon unparalleled wisdom but also promised him riches, honor, and a long life if he remained faithful. This moment at Gibeon is pivotal in understanding Solomon's character and the foundation of his reign. His request for wisdom was not a selfish desire for intellectual superiority. It was a recognition of his own limitations and a heartfelt plea for the ability to lead justly. This humility and self-awareness set Solomon apart as a leader who understood that true wisdom comes from God alone. Solomon's wisdom soon became evident in the way he governed Israel. One of the most famous examples of his wisdom is the judgment he rendered between two women who claimed to be the mother of the same baby. When both women came before Solomon, each insisting that the child was hers, Solomon proposed a seemingly shocking solution: to cut the baby in two and give each woman half. The true mother immediately pleaded for the child's life, offering to give up her claim so that the baby could live. Solomon then declared her the rightful mother, saying, "Give the baby to her. Do not kill him, she is his mother." 1 Kings 3 verse 27. This judgment revealed Solomon's deep understanding of human nature and his ability to discern the truth in complex situations. The fame of Solomon's wisdom spread far and wide, attracting visitors from distant lands who came to hear his insights and marvel at his knowledge. The Bible tells us that God gave Solomon wisdom and very great insight, and a breadth of understanding as measureless as the sand on the seashore. 1 Kings 4 verse 29. His wisdom encompassed a wide range of subjects, including science, literature, and philosophy. He spoke about plants and animals, composed thousands of proverbs, and wrote many songs. Solomon's wisdom was not only intellectual but also practical, guiding his decisions as a ruler and contributing to the prosperity of Israel. The request for wisdom and the subsequent blessings that followed highlight a key principle in the biblical narrative. When we seek God's wisdom above all else, we align ourselves with His purposes and open the door to His blessings. Solomon's story challenges us to examine our own desires and priorities. What do we ask for when we come before God? Are we seeking wisdom to navigate life's challenges, or are we more focused on worldly success? Solomon's example encourages us to prioritize the pursuit of wisdom and to trust that God will provide all we need to fulfill our calling. Building the temple, a monument to God's glory. One of Solomon's greatest achievements as king was the construction of the temple in Jerusalem, a project that his father, David, had longed to undertake but was unable to complete. The building of the temple was not only a monumental architectural feat but also a spiritual milestone for the people of Israel. It symbolized God's presence among his people and served as the central place of worship for the nation. Solomon's preparations for the temple began early in his reign. He secured the necessary materials, including the finest cedar and pine from Lebanon, and enlisted skilled laborers and craftsmen from across the region. Solomon also formed a close alliance with Hiram, king of Tyre, who provided much of the timber and expertise needed for the project. The detailed planning and vast resources dedicated to the temple's construction reflected Solomon's deep commitment to honoring God and fulfilling the legacy of his father, David. The Bible provides a detailed account of the temple's construction in 1 Kings 6-7, highlighting its grandeur and the meticulous care that went into its design. The temple was built on Mount Moriah, the same location where Abraham had been willing to sacrifice his son Isaac centuries earlier. The significance of this site added to the temple's sacredness, as it was a place where God had already demonstrated his faithfulness and provision. The structure itself was a marvel of ancient engineering. The temple was approximately 90 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 45 feet high, with an inner sanctuary known as the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant was placed. The walls were lined with cedar and overlaid with pure gold, and the floors were made of cypress wood. The temple's interior was adorned with intricate carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, all overlaid with gold. The entrance to the Holy of Holies was guarded by two massive cherubim, each 15 feet tall, made of olive wood and covered in gold. The dedication of the temple was a momentous occasion in Israel's history. Solomon gathered the elders of Israel, the heads of the tribes, and the leaders of the families to bring the Ark of the Covenant from the city of David to its resting place in the temple. As the priests carried the Ark into the Holy of Holies, the Bible records that the cloud filled the house of the Lord, and the priests could not perform their service because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled his temple. 1 Kings 8 verses 10-11. This powerful manifestation of God's presence affirmed that the temple was indeed a dwelling place for the Almighty. Solomon then offered a prayer of dedication, acknowledging God's greatness and asking him to bless the temple as a place where the people could come to seek his face. Solomon's prayer was marked by humility and a recognition of God's sovereignty. He said, "But will God really dwell on earth? The heavens, even the highest heaven, cannot contain you. How much less this temple I have built?"
1 Kings 8:27.
Solomon's prayer reflected his understanding that the temple, while magnificent, was ultimately just a symbol of God's presence and that the true dwelling place of God was in the hearts of his people. The completion of the temple was a fulfillment of God's promise to David that his son would build a house for the Lord. It also marked the high point of Solomon's reign, as Israel enjoyed peace, prosperity, and the favor of God. The temple became the center of religious life in Israel, a place where the people could offer sacrifices, celebrate festivals, and experience the presence of God in a tangible way. The story of the temple's construction and dedication underscores the importance of building our lives on a foundation of worship and devotion to God. Just as Solomon prioritized the building of the temple, we are called to prioritize our relationship with God and to make him the center of our lives. The temple serves as a reminder that our greatest achievements are not measured by worldly standards, but by our commitment to honoring God and living according to his will. The Queen of Sheba, Solomon's wisdom tested. Solomon's fame and reputation for wisdom spread far beyond the borders of Israel, reaching the distant kingdom of Sheba. The Queen of Sheba, intrigued by the reports of Solomon's wisdom and the grandeur of his kingdom, decided to make the long journey to Jerusalem to see for herself if the stories were true. Her visit is one of the most well-known episodes in Solomon's life, and it provides further insight into the extent of his wisdom and the impact it had on those who encountered him. The Queen of Sheba arrived in Jerusalem with a large retinue, bringing with her gifts of gold, spices, and precious stones. She came not just to admire Solomon's wealth, but to test his wisdom with hard questions. The Bible tells us that Solomon answered all her questions. Nothing was too hard for the king to explain to her. 1 Kings 10 verse 3. The queen was overwhelmed by what she saw and heard. She exclaimed, "The report I heard in my own country about your achievements and your wisdom is true. But I did not believe these things until I came and saw with my own eyes. Indeed, not even half was told me. In wisdom and wealth you have far exceeded the report I heard." 1 Kings 10 verses 6 to 7. The Queen of Sheba's visit serves as a testament to the international reach of Solomon's influence. Her acknowledgement of Solomon's wisdom and the prosperity of his kingdom highlights the fulfillment of God's promise to bless Solomon with unmatched wisdom and riches. But beyond the material wealth, it was Solomon's ability to address her questions and concerns that left the greatest impression on the queen. Her encounter with Solomon revealed the depth of his understanding and the divine source of his wisdom. The queen's reaction to Solomon's wisdom and the splendor of his kingdom also underscores the idea that true wisdom has a transformative effect on those who encounter it. The Bible records that when the queen saw all that Solomon had accomplished, including the palace he had built, the food on his table, the seating of his officials, the attending servants in their robes, his cupbearers, and the burnt offerings he made at the temple, there was no more spirit in her. 1 Kings 10 verse 5. She was left breathless, not just by the outward displays of wealth, but by the order, justice, and reverence for God that permeated Solomon's court. Solomon's interaction with the Queen of Sheba also serves as a reminder of the responsibility that comes with great wisdom. Solomon's ability to answer her questions and share his insights was a reflection of his role as a leader who was called to guide others in the ways of God. The queen's journey to Jerusalem and her subsequent praise of Solomon and the God of Israel highlight the potential for godly wisdom to draw others to the knowledge of God. Through his wisdom, Solomon was able to testify to the greatness of God, and in doing so, he fulfilled part of his calling as a king. The story of the Queen of Sheba's visit challenges us to consider how we use the wisdom and knowledge that God has entrusted to us. Are we using our gifts to glorify God and to lead others to Him? Solomon's wisdom was not just for his own benefit, it was a tool to demonstrate the glory of God to the nations. We, too, are called to use our gifts and talents in ways that point others to the goodness and greatness of our Creator. The downfall of Solomon, the danger of compromise. Despite the incredible wisdom and blessings that Solomon received, his story also serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of compromise and disobedience to God. As Solomon's reign progressed, he began to stray from the commandments of God, particularly in the area of his relationships with foreign women. This disobedience led to his spiritual downfall and ultimately set the stage for the division of the kingdom after his death. The Bible records that Solomon loved many foreign women, including Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites. These were nations about which the Lord had warned the Israelites, saying, "You must not intermarry with them, because they will surely turn your hearts after their gods." 1 Kings 11 verse 2. Despite this clear command, Solomon clung to these women in love, and he ended up with 700 wives and 300 concubines. As Solomon grew older, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father had been. He followed Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. Solomon even built high places for these gods, which led the Israelites into idolatry. This was a tragic departure from the wisdom and faithfulness that had characterized the early years of his reign. God was deeply displeased with Solomon's actions, and he appeared to him to pronounce judgment. Because Solomon had not kept the covenant and the decrees that God had commanded, the Lord declared that he would tear the kingdom away from Solomon's descendants. However, for the sake of David, God promised that this division would not occur during Solomon's lifetime but during the reign of his son. Additionally, God would leave Solomon's lineage with one tribe, Judah, so that the house of David would not be completely destroyed. Solomon's downfall is a sobering reminder of the consequences of turning away from God's commandments. Despite his wisdom and the incredible blessings he had received, Solomon allowed his heart to be led astray by the very things that God had warned him against. His story illustrates the principle that no amount of wisdom, wealth, or power can protect us from the consequences of sin. When we compromise our obedience to God, we open the door to spiritual decline and the potential loss of the blessings that God has given us. The latter part of Solomon's reign serves as a warning to all believers about the importance of remaining faithful to God throughout our lives. Solomon's story challenges us to examine our own lives for areas where we may be compromising our commitment to God. Are there relationships, habits, or desires that are leading us away from Him? Solomon's example encourages us to guard our hearts and to remain vigilant in our pursuit of holiness, knowing that our faithfulness to God is of utmost importance. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends and family.